The markets are closed, but the business stories are just heating up. Hello, I'm Raine Musñgi. Catch up with us on Newsfeed Business. U.S. President Donald Trump will announce on Monday 25% tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports into the U.S., another major escalation in his trade policy overhaul. Trump, speaking to reporters on Air Force One Sunday, also said he will announce reciprocal tariffs on Tuesday or Wednesday to take effect almost immediately.
I'll be announcing probably Tuesday or Wednesday at a news conference reciprocal tariffs, and very simply, it's if they charge us, we charge them. Every country will be reciprocal. That's right. Every country. It won't affect everybody because there's some where we have similar tariffs, but the ones that are taking advantage of the United States, we're going to have it's reciprocity, it's reciprocal. We're going to have a reciprocal tariff, but we'll have a news conference Tuesday.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz last week said European cooperation in the steel industry was needed to protect the European steel industry.
We will do everything we can to ensure that the framework conditions are such that steel production also pays off. This means that we have to work together across Europe. I have therefore proposed a corresponding steel summit at European level. After all, the challenges we are facing here are also faced by other countries in Europe. And they also have something to do with dumping competition from other countries. This can only be tackled jointly, including through the customs policy that is possible in the European Union. And this is becoming relevant once again if, in particular, American policy moves in the direction of Europe with tariffs. We will then be able to act and also want to protect steel production in Europe together.
Scholz also said on Sunday that Europe is prepared to respond within an hour if the United States levies tariffs against the European Union, speaking during a pre-election debate with his conservative challenger, Friedrich Merz. Nippon Steel Corp slumped the most in 4 months after a closely watched summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba heightened uncertainty over the company's plan to acquire U.S. Steel Corp. The leaders said Nippon Steel may make a significant investment in the U.S. steel maker instead, surprising investors. Bloomberg reports shares in the Japanese firm fell as much as 2.6% in Tokyo Monday, the biggest intraday drop since September 30th. An investment would be a significant shift away from the original planned buyout.
About U.S. Steel, as Mr. President says, it is not an acquisition, it is an investment. With Japanese technology, they can create better quality products. And U.S. steel products will contribute to Japan, the United States, and the world. That's why we invest. It is not one-sided. It will be reciprocal. It will be mutually beneficial. And I believe we were able to share this stance, and that is the biggest result that I have seen today.
The Prime Minister expressed Japan's willingness to increase its investment in the U.S. to $1 trillion, a move he believes will significantly boost U.S. employment. Part of this commitment includes plans for Japan to amplify its importation of U.S. liquefied natural gas.
On the tariffs issue, tariffs need to be set to be mutually beneficial, and as for Japan, as Mr. President has introduced to us, an unprecedented investment will be made from Japan to the United States. And so many jobs will be created. So we will enhance investment, and $1 trillion is the target. This should be to the benefit of the United States, but also to the benefit of Japan as well. Investment should be mutually beneficial.
Trump and Ishiba also spoke of collaborative efforts in cutting-edge technologies such as artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and semiconductors. A senior Trump administration official told reporters the leaders discussed military training exercises, increased cooperation in defense equipment and technology, foreign investment, and energy. Asian shares were mixed and the dollar edged higher on Monday after U.S. President Trump warned more tariffs were imminent, an inflationary move that could limit the scope for rate cuts. Asia-Pacific markets tracked U.S. stocks futures that were also lower ahead of key economic data. The benchmark Nikkei 225 started the day lower but reversed course to gain 0.1%, along with South Korea's Kospi, Hong Kong's Hang Seng, and even the Shanghai Composite. Australia's S&P ASX 200 slipped 0.3%. China's retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. exports are due to take effect on Monday, with no sign as of yet of progress between Beijing and Washington. Analysts assume currencies from those countries targeted by Trump will tend to fall against the dollar to help compensate in part for the taxes, keeping their exports competitive. Tariffs could also put upward pressure on U.S. inflation and further limit room for the Federal Reserve to ease policy. Fed Chair Jerome Powell is due to appear before the House of Representatives on Tuesday and Wednesday, and the impact of tariffs on policy is sure to be a hot-button issue. A finance analyst is surprised that U.S. President Trump showed no urgency to negotiate with his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping as China's retaliatory tariffs took effect today, Monday. China's countermeasures announced moments after Trump's sweeping 10% tariff on all Chinese imports took effect include a 15% levy on U.S. coal and LNG and 10% for crude oil, farm equipment, and a small number of trucks, as well as big engine sedans shipped to China from the United States. The White House said President Xi had reached out to Trump and that Trump-Xi call still needed to be scheduled.
Yeah, it's a bit surprising that the American government is going to allow its companies to suffer without even a phone call to the president of China. The thing is, we are in the beginning of the Trump administration. Right now, he's riding high. So right now, because one thing that people don't understand is that a lot of American companies are certainly lobbying the American government to stop the retaliation, right? Let's negotiate this. But right now, Trump is not listening to anybody. I don't agree with the view that every crisis is an opportunity, right? Deglobalization for a country that relies a lot on trade, there is no substitute for that. There is no substitute for the WTO for China in the sense of predictability of trade rules that allow its companies to operate in a global environment that is predictable. Surely, that will mean strengthening relationships with some Asian countries and things like that. But this relationship should be strengthened regardless of the threat of deglobalization. I don't think that is a major opportunity. I just think that is a survival negotiating tactic, strategy that China will have to pursue because there's no other way.
Well, traders in China's export manufacturing hub of Yiwu shrugged off U.S. President Trump's tariffs on Sunday, with some saying that they had already made preparations, while others said U.S. customers would bear the higher prices. Basi Group, a B2B and B2C business that sells everything from clothes to water bottles, said the company had made strategic adjustments in anticipation of Trump's second spell in office. Basi products are sold through platforms including Temu and Shein, low-price shopping platforms that analysts expect to be hard hit by Trump's repeal of the de minimis trade loophole. Buyers of products on behalf of other customers in markets such as the U.S., Australia, and the Middle East said vendors in the city were not short of orders and questioned whether the U.S. could find a country to replace Chinese imports.
Our orders are already so high that we can't fulfill them, so it doesn't matter. Also, for the U.S., whether or not they can find a good country to replace us is a question it needs to consider itself.
Adding a 50% tariff won't impact us much. First of all, our product is a high-profit product. For example, if I sell it here for 5 yuan, the wholesalers may give the consumer a price of 15 or 20 yuan, because this is standard pricing in the US. Even if a tariff adds 2.5 yuan to 5 yuan, the impact on the end consumer isn't too significant. Additionally, they now have a reason to increase prices for their customers, and they'll also try to negotiate with us. For instance, they might say, our tariffs increased, can you cover some of the cost for us? And we'd agree. After all, they're long-term clients, so we'd support them to some extent. The US accounts for about 80% of our exports. The United States' unpredictability, well, we're okay with it. It's whatever. We have no choice. As business people, when we're in situations like this, there's nothing we can do. Whatever they say, we just follow. If they cancel small parcel shipments, then our customers will switch to shipping by containers, right?
Before Trump took office, we predicted he would be elected. So what should we do after Trump comes to power? We gathered information from various reports, as well as on platforms like Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Based on that, we made strategic adjustments for the company in advance.
All eyes are on the French capital on February 10th and 11th to see if U.S. President Trump's administration can find common ground with China and nearly 100 other nations on the safe development of artificial intelligence. About a year after world powers reckoned with the dangers of AI in England, a wider array of countries are gathering in Paris to discuss putting the technology to work. This year, the AI Action Summit will focus on freely available or open source systems and clean energy to power data centers. The scientific director of France's AI Priority Program said, another path that does not necessarily have to follow the Silicon Valley business model can be defined to lead to more computing power. Mitigating labor disruption and promoting sovereignty in the global AI market are also on the agenda. Top executives from Alphabet, Microsoft, and dozens of other businesses are slated to attend, along with U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and Indian President Narendra Modi, who will dine with select CEOs on Monday. One of the summit's likely outcomes is that philanthropies and businesses are expected to commit an initial $500 million in capital, going up to $2.5 billion over 5 years, to fund public interest projects on AI around the world.
Elon Musk is a powerful man now. He's interested in tech and in AI in particular. He has his company Grok. But what changed since last December is it's part of an administration, right? And he is at the forefront of deregulation. And he's at the very heart of a new system that will stand against the world. This is my view. And I think that we should continue discussing with him, with all those that are doing AI, but we should be clear on what we are doing together and what we are not doing together. So we see that in the US, we are witnessing, with the advent of a new administration, so the regulation will be there. So this is a society model, and we are witnessing, the eruption of a new model from China. DeepSeek, of course, we should talk about it. But here in Europe, we're not just observers. There is the idea that we should regulate, but there is also the idea that there is another world, which is for other countries, not in the US, not China, but all over the world, and they should benefit from AI. And this is where we should have the discussion, which path we should define for AI. And this is why this summit is so important.
Still in Paris, edible flower bouquets are on sale for romantics wishing to buy the traditional gifts for Valentine's Day. At a flower shop named Fleur Revol, 10 local producers around France push against imported flowers, many of which are cultivated in completely unacceptable conditions, both humanely and ecologically. France counts around 150 species of edible flowers, and no roses, the traditional romantic Valentine's flower, are on sale at the store.
Yes, you can eat it. Let me show you. That's it, a bit spicy but not too strong. It is also an important day for flower ecology, since we have so many customers saying, "I need my red rose." And so we make the effort to explain that red roses for Valentine's Day, that doesn't really work for us. And we tell them that there are many other flowers that are very beautiful and could celebrate passion and love as well without coming from the other side of the world and laying waste to the earth.
Outside of the Valentine's season, the shop usually works with businesses who often use edible flowers for gastronomic creations, including this cocktail bar. Business and economy news from around the country in a moment. Newsfeed Business will be back. Stay with us on BNC.
At BNC, 12 noon doesn't mean break. We're always ready to give you the latest news, even at noon.
And those are the news this hour. Here at home, the Commission on Elections assures the Public Attorney's Office files new complaints. NGCP assures the public its Chinese investors are no threat.
Join Maya Rodriguez, delivering fresh news for you. Newsfeed at noon.
Keep it here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel.
This Valentine's Day, let's celebrate love in all its beautiful forms. Whether it's romance, friendship, or family, love makes every moment special. From our hearts to yours, happy Valentine's Day.
Welcome back to Newsfeed Business. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas may ease the monetary policy by 25 basis points on Thursday. This according to Business World poll of 20 analysts amid within target inflation and weaker than expected Philippine economy. If it pushes through, this would bring the benchmark rate to 5.5% from the current 5.75%. Last year, the BSP slashed the policy rate by 75 basis points. The Philippine Gross International Reserves, or GIR, declined to $103.2 billion at the end of January. Latest data from the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas shows a 0.2% drop from the $103.27 billion recorded in January 2024 and a 3% slide from the $106.3 billion registered at the end of December. The BSP cites foreign exchange operations and government deposit withdrawals used to pay foreign debt as the main drivers of the decline. The Supreme Court denies the motion for reconsideration of government-owned Philippine National Oil Company, or PNOC, in a land dispute with Bilyonaryo Ramon Ang's Petron Corporation. The ruling ends the dispute on the ownership of properties used by Petron for the Bataan refinery, gasoline stations, and bulk plants, which stemmed from the PNOC's termination of lease agreements for the properties due to alleged unfavorable terms to the government. Petron argues they can use the properties that were transferred to PNOC under a privatization process in 2013 based on the lease agreements. With the High Court's final decision, Petron is set to regain control of the disputed land holdings. Investments of the Maharlika Investment Corporation and the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines can help bring down power rates. MIC CEO Rafael Consing tells the Bilyonaryo News Channel giving generation companies the capacity to create enough facilities to provide electricity for small power utility groups, or SPUGs, and the national grid will lower electricity cost.
We call that the small power utility groups. They take on roughly about 178 billion in annual subsidies, 70% only of which goes to only to SPUGs. We felt that if you roll out electricity in these areas, then you will in fact spur capital formation in these areas today. You know, the most expensive electricity is not having electricity. We believe that by investing significantly in energy security, it would spur growth.
Musñgi says the Sovereign Wealth Fund also aims to invest in the agro industry, power generation, and renewable generation sectors. He adds its board members made sure it is ready to take on foreign investors.
Number one, governance, and that was really what we spent what we spent on the last year, making sure that our organization is ready to be able to take on foreign investors, making sure that we've got the right people, the right talent, in fact, managing the investment group. And we believe that over the next 6 months, we should be able to announce already our initial partnerships.
Philippine shares closing this week's first trading day in negative territory ahead of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas' monetary policy meeting. The PSE index ended money lower by almost 2% to close at 60.37, finishing the day as the worst performer in Asia. Among sectoral indices, only mining and oil ended in the green, with property falling the most at more than 2%. Decliners also outpaced advancers, 111 to 78. Value turnover totaled 5.7 billion pesos. All the day's most active stocks ended in the red, with Metrobank falling the most, with more than 4%. Meanwhile, at the foreign exchange market, the peso is currently trading at 58.10 to the US dollar, weakening from the previous close of 58.03. And that's a wrap for today's Newsfeed Business. Thank you so much for making us your daily source of financial insights. I'm Raine Musñgi. Join us again tomorrow as we bring you the stories that help you plan your next big, bold moves in business, only here on the Bilyonaryo News Channel. Follow the Money is next at 4:30. See you then.